Hey guys, I wanted to give a recent testimony, share my experience with you about gaming, video games, PC games, console games, whatever you call it. I initially thought of gaming as a way to make money through YouTube because you can make really good money. Excuse me. And I was like, okay, this would be a good way to provide for my family, hoping that the channel takes off. Then I also thought of using it to get NBA 2K23 to play basketball now while I can't play in real life because of the cold weather of winter out here in Canada. So I had that mindset. Then that mindset shifted to now that I'm trying to make a channel, now that I'm playing the basketball game, I also like Eleanor and racing. So I thought of getting a racing game and I looked up what games have Eleanor. Well, what pulled up was The Crew 2, Grand Theft Auto, and Need for Speed games. I think it was like Underground, Carbon, and one other one. And those are the games that I found. Grand Theft Auto is the worst game you could play as a man of God who's born again, or a woman of God who's born again. That's not the kind of game that you should be playing. And I knew that, but looking for an Eleanor car and knowing that I could get cheat codes online and get Eleanor like that and start using the car and then making content for my channel for it because people love that car, Shelby GT500. So I thought to myself, okay, I'll get that game with the mindset of hating sin. I did not want to kill in the game at all. Even if I ran someone over by accident, I felt terrible. And that's the renewed heart that God gives you, the renewed mind that seeks righteousness and holiness. That makes you hate things of games. Like I was playing this 3-on-3 freestyle, what is it? I forget the name. Freestyle rebound, something like that. It's a basketball game. Very demonic game. You have demonic figures with horns and all sorts of stuff. I don't recommend the game. First of all, I start playing the game and I hear the music. The music is garbage straight from the pit of hell. They love to promote Satan. He uses promotion of himself in these video games. Trust me, this is his platform. Virtual reality is his world. Physical reality is God's world. 1 second. Had to clear my throat a bit. So I noticed that no matter what game it was, Need for Speed, Grand Theft Auto, NBA 2K23, I immediately went to the options menu, went to sound, and just muted the music because it's utter garbage. And I don't want my ears hearing it. I don't want to hear about any sexual stuff going on in lyrics. I don't want to hear about the devil's name being promoted. I wanted nothing to do with it. So I'm like, if I'm going to play these games, I'm going to have to filter out things. And that's what you do as a child of God. You don't play like the world would play. People of the world would play and just shoot and kill and do drug dealing and all these missions and sexual activity in games and all sorts of stuff. Listen to bad music and jam to it. You're not that person. That's why Jesus said, I set you apart. You're different from the world. That's why the world doesn't accept you. So if the world doesn't accept you, do you think you accept the world? You accept the people of the world because they're created by God and you love God's people and you want them to come to Jesus Christ and not perish in their sins. But you hate the world because it's the devil's world. He's the lowercase g God of this world. So the things of the world are of him. And for you to love the world, the love of the Father is not in you, because that means you love the devil. You love his playground, not heaven. So I noticed many things that I want to point out. One, when I was younger, I played Duke Nukem on PC. And I'm not giving you these titles to go look up these games, start playing them. They're bad games. I'm telling you what to avoid. And parents, if you're watching, what to not allow your kids to have. Now, Duke Nukem, I wasn't born again. I was shooting up demons and all this stuff. This awesome looking dude with sunglasses on, and it was a cool game, so I thought. Well, through that game was the first time I ever saw a woman naked. And how do you think it happened? It happened because I went through the map of the game and I saw a calendar posted on a wall, and it was a naked chick. That's what the devil does. He first gets the kids into the game, gets the parents away from watching the kids play the game, because usually parents just push their kids in front of the TV, buy them a console and say, go have fun with your friends. They're not watching and observing what their children are learning, are being revealed to their eyes. And my parents never knew this, but that's when that seed was planted in me. I was really young. I don't remember how young, but I was young. I was not expecting it. And that's how subtle this coward is. He subtly places a calendar. What's a calendar needed in a video game? Disney does the same thing in their movies. They subliminally hide things that they hope your subconscious will see and program into your brain. So that was one thing. Video games these days, from what I've heard, are far worse than a calendar on a wall. They're more in your face. There's sexual activity in Grand Theft Auto. There's sexual activity in The Witcher. There's sexual activity in so many games. I'm not going to list them all. And I really hope you don't take this and start go look at those games and allowing yourself to be lured into temptation. That's not the point of this. But it's gotten so much worse. 100 times worse. Back then was probably like the 90s when I was playing. Maybe close to 2000s. I don't know. But I know I was living with my dad. And my parents got a divorce when I was 16. So I'm 37 now. Do the math. Yeah, I was secluded into my room, just watching TV all day, playing video games all day. It's very addictive, especially if you're not born again. If you're not born again, you already have an addictive spirit because you're under the bondage of Satan, as scripture says. So you're addicted, and you put all this, you consume all your time, so much so that you only take a break to go eat, get a drink, go to the bathroom, and then you're right back in your little jail cell. So that is when it's you against the computer. It's even more addictive when you play online, because then you're playing with real people. Then it's people from all over the world. So if it's nighttime where you are, maybe it's morning somewhere else for someone else, and then you're playing with that person because you want to stay awake and they just woke up. You know, there's many things. But the enemy first said, oh, don't worry about the killing. It's not real. It's just a video game. But God told me in my mind, I created those human beings. I love those human beings. You should not want to see them being murdered. You should not want to see them, being used as prostitutes or killed for money in the game, or you shooting them up or blowing them up or beating them up. You should want nothing to do with that. So I use Grand Theft Auto specifically for cars, because it's open world map, which I love. And it's, as far as I know, the best open world map game there is. So besides The Crew, which is now stepping up. So with that being said, I used it for the cars, because you can just pick any car in the open world, pull the person out. You don't have to beat them up. You just pull them out and you hop in the car. You own their car now. Now you can drive around in it. Unlike the other racing games like Need for Speed, where you have to beat these races and do these challenges in order to unlock cars and then modify your car in order to beat the race. It's just a whole thing. I don't like that. I like open world, very easy, in the moment, grab whatever car I want, start driving it. So I was making funny content. Excuse me. I was making funny content. I was just using my car to push other cars out of the way and just have them fly in the air, and that's it. It's very harmless. There's no murdering of any kind, no beating up of any kind, no sexual activity of any kind. It was just clean version Grand Theft Auto. I muted all the cursing, but I realized as I'm muting it, I'm having to hear it openly. Like while I'm playing, I'm just ignoring it. I'm just tunnel vision, focused on the game, driving. By editing, I'm searching for specific wording that I'm listening to and then muting it so that way the viewer can watch it without having to hear the cursing. Because on a godly channel, everything in my life is godly. I'm not going to have a godly ministry and then a worldly video game channel or a cursing channel of basketball. It's not going to happen. God, I live for God in all aspects of my life. So I had to make sure it was a clean version channel for all eyes to see and all ears to hear. So that's what I did. That's the mindset that I had. So what I realized is, one, having a baby, me and my wife, our son, he's 10 months now. Having a son, especially, who's rowdy, you don't have time for a video game channel. Like, this kid is acting like a toddler, and I have to watch over him with my wife 24/7. So that firsthand notice, channel's not going to work because of that. Second, games are expensive. Games are expensive. There's conditioning in games. If you are a gamer, PC gamer, Xbox gamer, whatever, not telling you this to go look up those games that I mentioned, but if you go to cdkeys.com, they give you games half off. It's downloadable content. It's legit. I've gotten 2 games from them. I've done away with my games. I've deleted them all. Deleted my channel. It didn't last. I didn't even do one video. I recorded the video, made the content, edited the video, but I never ended up putting it up. So cdkeys.com gives you half off of like other websites. So if it's like you're on Steam and Steam game is $80, it's $40 more or less at CD Keys. So there's a way for you to save money. But I've noticed that it's very time consuming. It's very conditioning with the music, with the little things that they place inside the game. It's time consuming away from God. You know, that channel was my focus. I was always trying to, focus on, making content, getting that content up, hopefully getting my channel known so that way I can make revenue off ads eventually. So that way me and my wife and our son can have our own living, our own living in our own apartment, house, whatever. And that was my mindset. That was my goal. But I noticed that I had less time for God. And I was more in the devil's world of virtual reality than I was present in physical reality. And to me, games get boring. They only have so many maps. Even with cheat codes, you could have like all cars, invincibility, all this stuff at your fingertips. But it wasn't enough. It was still boring because what the devil creates always fails, always comes short, always has flaws. And it's virtual reality. It's boring. He tries to replace God's reality of his creation by having you tune into the TV, tune into a movie. Movies are fine. I'm not saying you can't, but he just wants you to tune into his world, which is virtual reality. TV, music, movies, video games, that's his world. So you're basically like tuning in to his world and exiting physical world. VR goggles, virtual reality goggles. That's the whole point of video games, is conditioning of music, conditioning of content that you're seeing, conditioning of, molding you as a character, not a character in the game, but a character as a person, because you're killing people in a game. Hey, maybe a game is not good enough for you. Maybe you want to kill people in real life, and now they've created a sociopath through a game that you love playing. And it's like, hey, I want to know what this is really like to have a gun in my hand and to really blow this car up, or to do this or that I've done in a game. They do the same thing with movies. They try to recruit those that the game speaks to in a different way than others. So I don't condone Grand Theft Auto at all. I was also looking into Need for Speed, Forza, Horizon, all those car racing games. But again, to me, it gets boring. As a man of God, it's hard to find games. Like a channel, I picture a channel going through all sorts of genres of games. And that's what keeps it from getting boring. You have this game that's different from this game. This one's racing, this one's basketball, this one's, adventure, this one soccer, or whatever. Like you have all these other games. But as a born again child of God, you're limited because most games are evil. Most games flat out say like Diablo, which is devil, and like have the devil on the cover. So the game world is the devil's world, as I can see, clear as day. He owns it. The media world in general, he owns. He owns all of Hollywood. So where do you think these games come from? So that's my take on this. I decided to, again, delete my channel, figure out a different way to make money. I'm going to stick to my reaction channel of basketball content, my other basketball channel, sharpshooter with a 3 instead of an E. That's my channel. So if you like basketball content, go subscribe. I'm not playing yet because of winter, but I will be. And it's cool. I made my logo like a cross. It says sharpshooter, and there's a basketball as one of the O's in the middle. It looks awesome. So I always carry God wherever I go in my life, and I make my faith known publicly. I don't care what my audience is. My audience is going to know that I serve the Lord Jesus Christ, and hopefully they will come to know Jesus Christ through my open faith. So that's just my tips to you guys, is if you're playing just any game, shooting up people and blowing up people, you got to question your relationship with God. You got to question your heart. You got to question if you're born again. You got that renewed mind or not. You got to question your fear of the Lord. You got to question your love toward God. Why does this not affect you? Why do you allow the enemy to trick you and make you believe, oh, it's fake, it's not real, it's no big deal. Oh, horror films, it's fake, it's not real, it's no big deal. But there's still a spiritual tie to it. And that's the part he doesn't tell you. You're watching murdering. That's like going to a boot camp and learning how to murder. Your boot camp is your screen, is your video game. It's teaching you to pull out a gun, what to do with that gun, what the benefit of killing someone does, which in the game gives you money, the benefit. So he's training you up, and games are mainly focused towards children, kids. So he wants the kids young, at a young age. Hey mom, your kid's a little rowdy. Get him a console, throw him in front of the TV, and go hang out with your friends, go browse through social media. Your kid will be just fine in my hands. That's the devil's plan. So be selective. If you're going to play games, be selective on what games you allow yourself to play. What you allow your eyes to see, what you allow your ears to hear, because it matters. It may be virtual reality, but swearing is a real thing. Murdering is a real thing. Drugs are a real thing. It's just presented virtually to you. But you can go get the same stuff physically. And that's his plan, to condition you virtually to hopefully get you to go physically. And if not, to just stay glued to virtual reality in his world. Get out, enjoy God's beautiful creation, go to the mountains, take a hike, take a bicycle ride, whatever you got to do, go for a swim, enjoy what God made, get off the internet, get closer to the Lord. I hope this video helps you. This is my personal testimony. And like I said, I'm done with gaming now. In the future, if it were ever to come up again, it would be specifically race car games, not like Grand Theft Auto, and I would have like one of those steering wheels that make it real. Because in our mind, we're like, okay, we don't own this car in real life, so it'd be kind of cool to know what it's like to drive it and get that experience from a game. And they make it so real that you can't even tell the difference, or so they say. You can't tell the difference from virtual and physical reality. You can, because God's creation, no one can copy it, no one can replicate it, whatever, counterfeit it, whatever you want to say. They can't do it. The devil tries, but he always falls short. Because as we all know, he's a defeated foe. God bless you guys. Jesus loves you. Have a blessed day.